Easton Grange number 196, and we have had a wonderful meal, and we are going to move on to the lecturer part of our program. Our regular lecturer, Priscilla Alquist Olson, is not here tonight, so I'm standing in. Grange meetings consist of a meal, a lecture or a slide presentation, and then we do our Grange business meeting at the end. So for ECAT, we're just having our wonderful speaker. Tonight we're having Christina Refford, close?
Yeah, you got it, you got it.
From the Green Communities Committee. The Green Communities Committee is a new, relatively new part of Easton Town government. You may not have heard about it. You're the chair.
Yes.
And so we're going to hear about some of the interesting initiatives for a better environment here at Easton that their committee is doing. Christina?
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. So, as he said, my name is Christina Refford. I am a resident of Easton. We moved here in 2000, so I've been here just about 23 years. I've raised 3 children. My youngest is in college. I have 2 in college, so poor me. And one has just graduated. But yeah, so the Green Communities Committee, I've been on it for a few years. It has sort of an interesting past and an interesting present. It was actually founded quite a few years ago. I think it was 2009. I'm going to put this down because I probably didn't keep it. So probably around 2009, it was founded to help Easton become a green community. And that was a state designation which came with a lot of money to help towns transition from traditional energy sources and to reduce their energy usage. So the original Green Communities Committee was very energy-based. And you might remember that they replaced a lot of the lights on Main Street. They redid some of the furnaces in some of the buildings. Some of the fleet started to transition over to hybrids and electric vehicles. And so it was, there were, I think it was 5 or 6 things goals that the state set that a community had to meet to be considered a green community. So I was, my kids were getting a little older. They were still in high school, and I thought I would like to do something in the community. I'd been pretty active in some other organizations, but I thought I would try joining a town committee. And so I opened up the website and I looked through everything and found a vacancy, and I thought, green communities, I like the environment, that sounds interesting. And I wrote to the powers that be, and they said, well, that committee does not exist right now. It actually disbanded, but we'll keep your name in mind. And it took a year for other people to do what I did, and we finally had a committee. And the new committee is it doesn't have the same goals, let's put it that way, because the town is a green community, and the DPW is actually in charge of all the paperwork and regulations and making sure everything stays so that we can keep that designation. The other thing that's changed, which you guys probably know, is it used to be that you had to think green or think about energy savings, and now with the cost of electricity and our concerns about the environment, pretty much every department, every organization in town is thinking about their energy usage, when they're updating their cars, how can they use less gas, things like that. So some of the things have kind of spread out among different parts of the town and different departments in the town. And so even things like grants, for instance, this latest public safety building, they already went in and applied for all the grants to help fund the heating systems that will go in for those new buildings. So our committee, when we started, I sort of naively thought I was going to join a committee and learn from people. And I kind of joined with three other wide-eyed, like, what do we do? Like, what do we do now? And we had Craig Barger was our select board designee, and he was with us for a few years. And I kind of joked that the reason I became chair was because I show up. I go to meetings, I was taking the minutes, and I participated in a lot of things. So they asked me to be chair. Shortly after that, Jamie Stebbins, who was new to the select board, asked if he could take over Green Community, so he's been with us for a few years. And we currently have, we have actually one opening on the committee, but we have two other people on the committee, Steve Drown and Carolyn McCafferty. They've been with the committee since October and November of last year. So I'm sort of like the one that's been around, and we have a couple new people who are great. Carolyn was going to come today, but she couldn't make it, unfortunately. And so what we're doing is trying to identify how can we have the most impact in town. And we kind of have, because the environment is such a huge, huge issue, and there's literally 3 of us right now, plus a select board person, we've had to really focus our efforts. And so we divided things up into 3 areas. Energy, obviously, trying to educate people about different energy choices they can make. How can you save money on your electric bill? How can you save money making the right choices? Also, water conservation and preservation. How can we convince people that they don't need to water their lawn as often as they do? How can we protect our waterways? And Easton's got a lot of different waterways. We have a high water table. It's easy to contaminants go into our water system. PFAS is a big deal. I'm sure you guys have probably heard of that. And then also recycling and waste management. We worked with the DPW and identified one of the big problems with recycling right now is that, the saying is there is no away. When you say I'm going to throw something away, where's away? Away is somewhere else, but it's still around. And so, so we try to help people understand what can you recycle, what can't you recycle. The rules change a lot. It's confusing. Most of us use single stream recycling. We dump everything in one bin, and a lot of us cross our fingers and hope for the best. And so those are the 3 areas we've really focused on. And by the way, I have no problem if anyone wants to ask questions. It'll be fun. You can either wait to the end. So for instance, for recycling and waste management, we've met with the DPW and talked to them about one of the challenges is a couple times a year, waste management will pull one of the recycling trucks and do an audit of the recycling. They'll kind of go through it and say, all right, what percentage of your recycling is contamination? Contamination is the stuff that you really shouldn't recycle. We call it wish cycling, when you have something and you say, I think this should be recycled, and you hope and you throw it in. And if it's a contaminant, if it gets to be more than 10% of a load, the town is charged for that overage because it's trash. And so waste management then has to take it and bring it somewhere else to be disposed of. And so a few things, I don't know if you guys have had a chance, but if you go on the town website, we are a town department, so we're not allowed to have our own beautiful, flashy website. We are on the committee page, but if you go to our little drop-down menu and you find the Green Communities Committee, we do try to put a lot of our resources on there. And one of the things that's on there is Recycle Smart's Recyclopedia, which is a great tool. I use it all the time because you can just, it's like a little search bar. You just plug in like plastic pail. Like if your kids have a plastic pail and you think, well, it's plastic and it's got that little triangle on the bottom, I think I can recycle it. And you just plug it in and it'll tell you, no, don't recycle that, it's trash. Some of the things we've learned is the little triangle means nothing anymore. Doesn't tell you, it tells you what kind of chemicals, what kind of plastic it is, but it does not mean if it's recyclable or not. So that's one thing we've done. Other things we've done, we do social media messages through the town of Easton. You may or may not follow it on Facebook, but and you may not even know it's Green Communities, but we send those to the town. Again, we're not allowed to have our own Facebook page. It's just for, to keep everything, the same, keep the town safe from any kind of problems if we were to go rogue and say something we're not supposed to say, but not everyone, but so they end up publishing a lot of our social media messages. We've done some education on like black plastic, which can't be recycled because the scanners can't see the black plastic. So like your takeout containers, those little black ones, please don't put those in your recycling. They're going to be trashed. And then we just try to, we go to the Harvest Fair every year. We set up a booth. We do a lot of games with the kids. I've been to town pool to do crafts with the children, the kids races. I've spoken to brownie troops. The best thing about the brownie troops are the kids are so smart, and they can answer everything, and the parents are in the background going, wait, I can't recycle that. So it's just the kids are so up on everything. So that's one area that we work. In the same vein, one of the things we did when I first joined the committee is we passed the single-use plastic bag ban in town, which you either think was a great idea or not, but what the idea was is we met with people from waste management, and they were talking about how plastic bags are so bad in recycling. When they get put into the recycling bins, they end up clogging up the machines. And I always say it's like when you're vacuuming and you get a sock in your vacuum and it gets all wrapped up and you have to stop and pull it out and it's a pain. Just imagine it's a huge, like, room-size roller and you have to stop and get on the belt and pull it out. It's just a safety. You know, people try to recycle all sorts of things that get tangled in there, but plastic bags have always been a big issue. Plus, they fly through the air, they get stuck in the trees. One thing I said to Ed earlier tonight was, one of the tough things when you try to do something that you think is going to be like a totally positive outcome are what we call unintended consequences. And something that we could never have predicted was 4 months after that passed, we had a pandemic. And before that passed, I went to supermarkets, I could see people taking their reusable bags out. It felt very good. I felt like, oh, this is a positive step, great. And then the pandemic came, and I don't know if you remember, but Governor Baker said, no bags, you can't bring your own bags in the store, they could be covered in COVID. And so it kind of made them a scary thing, right? And so people got out of the habit. The stores started switching over to paper bags, and now we have paper bags everywhere. So, and then some stores switched to the very, very thick plastic bags. I don't know if Roach Brothers, I'm on the other side, I live by Five Corners. So Roach Brothers has the thick plastic, I've written to them. Target started with the thick plastic, actually I got in touch with corporate. They put me in touch with someone who handled the East Coast, and they switched over to like a partially recycled, it was that weird kind of fabric-y kind of bag that you could wash. So they switched over to that, which was, okay, it's a step. The idea was to get rid of them entirely, just sort of force the issue or make people, because it's a habit, if you can get into the habit of doing it. And then some people have asked me, why don't we, Big Y charges, I think it's 5 or 10 cents a bag if you use a paper bag. That's not something we as a town can do, that's a state level decision. Big Y can do it, and Shaw's could do it, the stores themselves could charge, but we can't say, we're gonna enact a law that stores have to charge, or you have to pay for the paper bags. I believe there is one community that's trying to fight against that and get, I think they call it home rule, so that they can charge for a paper bag. But in the meantime, hundreds of towns all over the state have these individual plastic bag bans, and they're all a little different. I mean, it's very funny when you read them all because they're all just a little. So there is a movement to get a statewide decision and have like one blanket thing that can cover everything, but that hasn't happened yet. But we did learn some valuable things about that, moving forward with that. And it's kind of caused us to be careful, like when we're thinking about things, we always try to think about, well, what could that mean? A lot of people say, well, let's say get rid of black plastic because of takeout containers. Say you can't, okay, what are they going to move to? Is it affordable? Can they make that change? How much stock are they going to have in black plastic? So it is a little bit of, we try to make sure we're thinking things through on every step. So that's kind of recycling waste management. We also, water conservation. We've worked with the water department to come up with messages that we put either as flyers or online, talking about the water ban. Make sure you don't water your lawn more than once a week in the summer. We also did some messaging on an app that you can try to see if you have. The town has been switching over to digital meters, and there's an app called Eye on Water, like my eyeball, Eye on Water. And if you download the app and you have one of these meters, it'll tell you your water usage. And it's really kind of interesting because it will also let you know if you have a leak. It'll say if they can detect a leak in your house. But the thing I found most interesting was this past year, we never even needed to turn our sprinklers on because it rained every weekend. But last summer, we were watering every morning, every Monday, oh my gosh, not every morning, every Monday, and I would pull up my eye on water, and I could see, even with 3 teenagers, my water usage would be like doo doo doo, like all around, and then Monday it would go shoot way up just from watering our lawn that one day. So it is a great way to kind of see it and feel like, well, maybe we don't need to water our lawn. We live at the end of the cul-de-sac, no one sees our lawn anyway, it doesn't really matter. So that's something we try to do. A lot of that is education and working with different departments in the town to make sure that we're, another thing we were talking to them about is what to do with your leaves. That's a big thing this time of year. You can't burn them, you can't toss them near a waterway, but those are both illegal. And so we just put forward a social media message. It was fairly well received, with 4 ways you can get rid of your leaves. You can compost them, you can mulch them. There are 2 facilities that the DPW links to, which will take them if you have to pay. You drop them off, but you just bundle them up and drop them off. And then one idea was just hire a landscaper come and take it. A lot of people didn't really love that idea because it is kind of a high ticket item to hire a landscaper, but for some people, they have landscapers every week, that's no big thing, and for some other people, maybe that one time a year to just clean up your whole lawn and take them away is worth the effort and the money. And then PFAS education. So the PFAS is interesting, and I believe you guys have had Kyle Bennett speak, and I'm not sure if she spoke about PFAS, but she is unbelievably brilliant about the whole situation. And we're lucky in town, we have a great, we are so proactive on the issue. And so we've had Connor Reed come speak to us and present a document. It's actually on our webpage if you ever want to see it. It's an interesting read. It just talks about, the problem, what are some of the solutions, what are some of the challenges. And it is one of those things that's a moving target right now, and the town is so ahead of everything else that we work with him, but we aren't taking an initiative on it at this point. I will say pre-COVID, one of the things I was working on was trying to get PFAS filters in the schools, thinking because at that time, it was a big deal, people were really scared about their kids filling up their water bottles in the schools. And I had a meeting set to talk to someone from Green Schools for, I think it was March 20th, 2020. And then, there was no school for a year, so it didn't really matter. And then the plans for the plant came in for the water filtration. And then for energy, I just got off the phone last week. I talked to Mass Save, and I'm going to be doing some either in the town crier. We also publish on the town crier, the Easton email, if you get that every week, and in social media about some moderate and low-income programs through Mass Save, where they'll help pay for new insulation in your house and different programs to help replace some of your appliances and things like that. Because we want people of all income levels to be able to do things that will make their house more energy efficient, which will also make it more affordable because they won't be paying as much for the energy they're using. We've worked with Connor Reed before on their the new electric aggregate plan that they negotiate a rate. I think it's a 2 or 3 year rate for electricity, which has been for the last 2 or 3 year period was much, much cheaper than what happened with rates in electricity. For this next period, which just started this month, they've gone up a bit, but they're still pretty competitive. But I don't know if a lot of people know, but there is an optional wind product that you can pay. You can change your electricity to be completely renewable wind energy credits, and the cost differential is like pennies. I think I did a little bit of, I have my math over there, but I'll try to do it off the top of my head. Based on an average home, I think the difference in cost if you use traditional electricity versus optional wind credits, it's $2 a month. So it's not, it is $2, so I'm not trying to make that sound like it's nothing, but overall, if you are interested in using green energy or a more sustainable energy from your electricity, and you are part of the town program, that is the town program if you had to opt out of, I believe. I think everyone was opted in. But if you would like the green product, you have to contact them. And it's on the town website, it explains how to do that. And so some new things we're doing, it's unfortunate we don't have a town newspaper anymore. I feel like sometimes it's hard to figure out what's the best way to get the message out. We don't want to be printing out booklets and flyers and handing things out. We're green communities, because anyone else is wasting paper everywhere. But we are going to put together a directory that people can print out themselves with all sorts of resources that they can use if you're interested in anything. I mean, we've met with the people from HelpSee about textile recycling, which is very, very interesting, and I can bore you to death another time if you like. And we've met with different organizations, and so a lot of that will go into the directory for people who want more information and aren't sure where to get it, because you know, sometimes it's hard to just sift through everything and figure out like what is available in the town and things like that. So I'm happy to answer questions. One other thing we did do is we went on a tour. We went on a tour of the recycling facility in Avon. It was very interesting. It was fascinating to see how they sort everything, all the belts, the people working there, and what they have to take out as the belts are going by, how fast everything moves. They bale everything into huge, huge squares of plastic milk bottles or paper, and they bale everything up and then it's shipped out. But they did talk a lot about like 5 things that you should never put in your recycling. I'll try to see if I can remember these. You should never put any tanglers. I mentioned the plastic bags, but also like hoses, chains, ropes, all of those things. Just remember the vacuum analogy. They're horrible and they have to stop the equipment. The other thing is plastic bags and plastic film. The other thing I tell people is just because it's recyclable doesn't mean it's recyclable in your single stream recycling. There are so many channels to recycle. You can recycle styrofoam, but you can't throw it in your single stream recycling. You have to bring it to a styrofoam recycler. Plastic film, like when you take off, let's say, cherry tomatoes, and they have that little plastic film on the top. A lot of the supermarkets will collect that, but that can't go in your single-use recycling bin. So they don't like to see the plastic bags or any of that flimsy plastic. Let's see, batteries, especially lithium batteries, are super, super dangerous. They also don't like to see propane tanks. They actually have a video inside, believe it or not, people recycle propane tanks. They have a video going inside their lobby that goes on a loop, and it's literally a bale of metal on fire because a propane tank got sucked in and then somehow combusted and caught on fire. Oh shoot, I'm not gonna remember the 5th.
Pizza boxes.
Well, pizza boxes are recyclable. Did you know that?
Even with the.
So yeah, so pizza boxes, so that's a new one. So pizza boxes, it used to be, you know, to rip off the lid but not the bottom. No, now as long as you take the food out, you take that little paper, out, it can have grease on it, you can recycle that. You can't recycle orange juice containers unless you live on the west side of the state. Okay, so there's certain things like that you just
Talking about orange juice containers that are plastic or paper?
Well, what do you call it? The square ones?
The paper.
Paper, waxy paper. Those are not recyclable. Yeah, they call it what do they call it? Like waxed cardboard or something like that. That's recyclable if you lived like Springfield, that end of the state, but not this side of the state. It has to do with who can process it. And I'm sorry, I can't remember what the 5th one is. It's like so etched in my head. But certain things like textiles, you can't put your textiles in the trash anymore. You can't, mattresses have to be recycled in a certain way. And it's not like, again, that's why we always talk about the recyclopedia, because the Waste Management Recycle Smart page, which puts on Recyclopedia, or actually Recycle Smart puts Recyclopedia together. They actually have 2 quizzes. They're called Beyond the Bin and Beyond the Bin 2.0. And Beyond the Bin is, I can pass Beyond the Bin, but Beyond the Bin 2.0, I have not got them all right yet. And that's, like, I do this a lot. Like, I think about recycling a lot. So it's a complicated thing. That's why we tell people to go to the Recyclopedia. So again, if anyone has questions or wants to chat.
Can you tell me about the PFAS situation? I thought that the filtration spent millions of dollars getting them in, but yeah, we still have the water being at the water plant or whatever, that people can go up and fill their containers, and I'm thinking, is that gonna stop?
So, yeah, I don't know if it'll stop. I know that there were two plants. One was like an iron and manganese plant, and one was a PFAS plant. And one of them is not up yet, and one of them is, but they're close, like they're almost completely there. I mean, I think the thing about PFAS, and again, I know Kyle probably said this, but once we have those filters, that's great. But one of the things we really have to think about is how are we putting it into the water, right? So are we using Teflon pans? That's covered in PFAS. Are we using a lot of waterproof things? A lot of those have PFAS on them. So a lot of them, I don't know, so I'll say this for Kyla's benefit. I know you guys know who she is. She was just featured on Bloomberg, did a 16-minute documentary about her and her PFAS story. And one of the things they talk about are these like injected plastic containers. And this one company, I think it's out of Texas, sorry if it's not Texas, but they use this special method, and it creates all this PFAS inside. And I think they use PFOA, and it leaches into the products. And so when you use shampoo, and they're the only company in the country that makes this particular plastic. Yes?
Some people may not know what PFAS stands for
Oh, okay. Oh, all right.
or what it is.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what it is because I'm better at that. It is, it's basically a chain of, it's a whole family of chemicals. So it's not just one thing. You can't say it's like, I'm just gonna cut this one out. It represents an entire family of chemicals, thousands of chemicals, of which we know of the names of a tiny amount of them. Many of them are proprietary, and there's no way for anyone to be able to say the names of all of them. But basically what they do is they form this very strong bond, and they're used in a lot of products that need waterproofing or for strength. So for instance, with these shampoo bottles and things like that, it helps make the walls of the bottles so strong that there won't be leaks. Firefighter foam has been known to have a lot of PFAS in it, which is why our own fire department, when they do drills and things like that, they use soap. They don't use firefighter foam when they're doing drills because it's just not safe. I mean, the incidence in certain kinds of cancers and things among firefighters is very high, and they attribute a lot of that to their gear. And so Easton has switched over to the lowest percentage PFAS gear that's available on the market. The tricky thing is this is and the biggest issues with these chemicals is they break down, but they don't go away, and they live in your body. You never get rid of them. They found them, I think they said, they found them in polar bears and the Arctic. They found PFAS in newborn babies. They found them in mothers' umbilical cords. I mean, they're in everybody. So the question isn't like, we can't just say, okay, let's stop using it because it's pretty much everywhere. And another problem is we can filter it, and what do we do with the filters? There are processes, and I know that there's scientists that are looking for ways that will break it down. I believe I heard of one that uses like some kind of mold or something that will dissolve it, and then there's other chemical processes that might be able to dissolve it, but we're in a situation where we're kind of like in the middle of it, or kind of early stages where we know we don't want it, but trying to figure out what to do with it is an issue. And I say that, also say that Easton's been incredibly proactive in even putting plants. I mean, if you ask any of your friends in other towns, some of them don't even test, or maybe are just starting at this point. So our town's been pretty proactive. And like I mentioned, Connor gave a great presentation. We linked to it on our webpage. It's kind of written for people like me who aren't like scientists and can't remember the name of the whole compound. But so you can go on there and see, more about it and where Easton has been kind of at the forefront. I believe Connor was the state did a task force, and he was the only municipal employee that was invited to be on it. So that just gives you an idea of like how Easton has been kind of ahead of a lot of other towns.
So do you have a budget on your committee?
we have a budget?
Yeah, they give you some money to help you?
Nope, we have no money. So, so yeah, that's probably why a lot of what I do is I do a lot of social media. It's tough. I mean, we are a budgeting committee. I think I've attended like one conference in Cambridge, but small things like that. But I think if we were to spend money, we want to do it on something that's really worthwhile. I don't want to just produce something that, even when we go to the harvest fair, I'll print little paper stickers to give to the kids. I just do that myself. Because I think, I don't want to create, magnets, we're an environmental committee, I don't want to, hand out pins, So, we don't really do tchotchkes or anything like that. But we are, the other thing I want to mention is we do like to collaborate. So if the Grange isn't got an idea, I think I've heard people talking about Keep Easton Beautiful, kind of floating around, and we had reached out to the DPW to say, could we help with messaging and getting the message out or anything like that? So, we've worked with different committees before, and, we're happy to kind of collaborate and find out ways. I mentioned to Ed that the whole townwide composting, some people ask us about it. We've met with Black Earth Composting. There's no place in the South Shore to dump the compost that they collect, so they aren't willing to take on a big townwide project. But I know that so we do try to find answers to things, and we don't always find positive answers to things. So, but we are interested in trying to, solve problems when they come up. Yes.
So, as far as collaboration, have you ever collaborated with the Affordable Housing Trust?
You have not, but I would.
The reason I suggest that is that part of what they can do is help seniors retrofit houses in a variety of ways. They might be able to retrofit for more efficient energy use.
Yeah, and I bet with Mass Save's new programs for it, that would be a great one to contact, because that's a relatively new expansion of the area.
And the other thing is, from what I can see of our zoning regulations, they don't really address conservation issues. And some communities are beginning to do that. They're requiring new houses to have a certain standard of energy efficiency. I don't think that's here yet. Maybe that's
Yeah.
Can I just tell you that we just re-sided our house, with vinyl shingles, and, part of what was required was the new sliding glass doors that we put in our home and, garage, but it had to be a certain energy efficient, so there is some.
Yeah, there is, the current building code with the state, is actually controversial with builders. They're saying it makes your houses too tight, and so that you don't get the proper air circulation through your house. But on the other hand, you're much more energy efficient.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.